Morning, everyone. Welcome to the this is July 2026 READ cohort. Thanks for attending. And I don't have any announcements. Pete doesn't have any announcements. We just hope everybody's having a good, safe fire season so far. And we're going to roll right into this panel discussion on REAC or REC, or however you want to say, the Resource Advisor Coordinator position. Is this the second year we've had this acronym in this official position, the old lead read position? So the REAC expectations for resource advisors. And I'm just going to let the panel introduce themselves and we'll start this. If you guys are ready to go, I'll just go with Courtney's on the top of my screen, so I'll go with CJ. Go ahead.
Hey, I am Courtney Rowe, and I'm the Acting Vegetation Program Leader for the Inyo National Forest, and I have been lead reading now since 2014.
Josh.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joshua Quarter, South Zone Hydrologist on the Boise National Forests, and I've been doing lead read, 2014 as well. So, same as CJ.
Morning, everybody. I'm Jordan Spaak. I'm an ecologist and the Natural Resources Liaison to the Fire Service. I sit in the Park Service Washington office, and I'm probably one of the newer folks. I've been in lead read roles now since 2022.
Wow, you guys are very concise. Thanks, but I'm going to ask for a little bit more. Just give a little bit of your background on how you, a little bit of your background and how you ended up being a lead read.
I was pregnant. I was pregnant, couldn't take read assignments. Linn called me and I said, I can do this, but you got to know that I'm 7 months pregnant. And that's how I entered into the lead read world. But it was the combination of enjoying sort of the different level of responsibility and also maybe a more and different connection to an ID team, or not an ID team, an incident management team, kept me doing it. I think also at the time, the lack of people that were willing to do it. It's a I can say it can be a very hard position, but I also really enjoyed doing it for my forest and really enjoyed when I could be on small incidents and bring new members onto the team and work from the incident from the beginning all the way through to the end and feel like a really strong sense of ownership of the process and a deep connection both to the READ team, but also to an IMT. So that's what kind of kept me in it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I dabbled in fire before that as a driver, then went to Bear team in 05 and just wanted to know the other side of things. So I thought, hey, resource advising might be a good thing. So I was just going to be my idea was just be a reef. That's all. I'm going to be a reef and not do the lead read thing until my ranger came in and said, well, hey, you're a qualified read. You're now my lead read. And I was like, what do I got to do? And so pulled in some help. Linn came and helped me and taught me a lot there. And so it was kind of just thrown into it. And afterwards, just really still like doing the reef thing. I still do enjoy that as well. I would try to sneak in sometimes as just a reef, but I never knew that it never occurred to me that this white hat that I keep wearing everywhere that a lot of people know me as gave me away. And some people would be like, hey, you got a lead read right there when people were looking for it. And so I just realized, all right, I'm going to get pulled in. Let's go for it. And so that's what I do mostly now.
Say similar to CJ and Josh, I did not expect to be plunked into it. I was on an engine on a small fire in New Mexico, and they said, hey, you're a reef, aren't you? And I said, yeah. You're a resources guy, aren't you? Yeah. Good, you're the lead read now. And so I got plunked into the lead read role. And then monsoonal lightning bust with no moisture came through the following day, and all of a sudden we had a whole bunch of little fires to manage. I found it a lot of fun. I also knew all the operational folks well, so I could kind of mesh the resources needs with the operational needs. I enjoyed working with the small team that was stood up, and thought, okay, this isn't too bad. I prefer to be reef, but this isn't too bad. I can keep doing this. And ever since now, I just like Josh, I try to get out on reef assignments, and I keep getting plunked into the REAC role. So one day I'll get back onto a reef assignment. I'm certain of it. But I think, I don't know about you guys, but I would say a big driver for me was probably Linn and Cedar as well, pushing me when I was like, I'm thinking about the lead read role, thinking about taking the lead read course. And then I was on a fire with Josh and CJ. They both kind of pushed me in that role too. So like I said, I'm one of the newer ones here, but everybody kind of pushed me there, and all the doors were pointing to be like, hey, you're going to be the REAC role now. So just suck it up and deal with it. Enjoy it.
I was also really lucky to work with like a couple great AAs. And so that's what happens to me now is sometimes I get called by AAs or really great ICs, and they say, you know, we're having a bit of a resource issue. Can you come help us with this? And so I have found that maybe a little bit more than the reef role, and I share this with a lot of operational operators I've talked with. I love sort of coming into chaos and making order out of it. And there is something about this role that allows for a lot of that. And I find that that's something that fills me personally. It's very stressful. I would also say more now than my reef roles, my lead read roles are where I learn the most about myself in a given year, for better and for worse. And so I look forward every year to that opportunity for growth and learning, however painful it can be at times. It is still some of the most rewarding work. And I think at the end of my career, these assignments that I've taken as a lead read are probably some of the ones that I will cherish most and remember most as achievements.
Going to the first big question. What are your daily expectations of a resource advisor, and how are they supposed to interact with operations personnel?
I'll take that one and start us off. I really expect my reefs. It's definitely one of my expectations when they come in. I'll sit down and have one-on-ones with all of them, and one of them is, I want you to be engaged just like everyone else is engaged. If that division and that crew, they're at every breakout in the morning, ready to go. They're in the division breakouts after the morning meeting, and then they usually have a breakout in the field on the line. And my expectations is, we're part of the team, therefore you need to fully engage just like they are. Show up, be ready to go just like them, and be proactive in your communication with division and the crews. And as well as, if you're going to advise and have the time to help and physically able to help, you get in there and it's like, hey, this is what we're doing. I just really expect reefs to integrate and be a part of the team, not be separate. Don't want that here of the reef sitting on the shovel. Yeah, you do this, you do that, and just kind of sitting there. No, that's not proactive, and that's not team play.
Go, Jordan.
I'll take it. I think similar to Josh too. I mean, we're all a part of a team going in the same direction, and I think we need to be conscious of, first and foremost, safety. That's like my number one with all reefs and arcs. But then two, how can you be advising? Don't be directing, be advising with the team, and build those relationships. Take the time to build the relationships, get to know the operational folks, task force leaders, division soups, whoever that is, really get to know them and know them well. That can also become a safety line of accountability as well. If the fire really stands up, they know you're out there, and they know where you're working. So somebody else is watching out for you. And I think don't take the mindset that you're going to save every blade of grass and every piece of dirt and every single resource there is. Understand what the true priorities are for the area you're working, and then subsequently what the overall priorities are for the home unit. I find that with a lot of newer folks that are new to this, that they want to save everything. Yeah, CJ hit it there. If everything is a priority, nothing's a priority. So really understand what those priorities are. And if you're not sure how to advise on those priorities, ask ask your REAC, ask your AA, whatever role you're in, and really understand those and then understand how to advise operations on those priorities.
I put my big three in the chat, and Josh and Jordan hit two of them. So I'll hit the number two for me, and I like my little bumper stickers. Documentation. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. So the big thing that changed for me from all of those relationships and safety, I considered those as a reef. When I got into a lead read role and I realized I had to turn over a package to a home unit that maybe wasn't mine and help people pick up the pieces after a fire, documentation became so much more important to me for my reefs. So your relationships on the line and your safety mattered, but one of the primary expectations for reefs is that you're documenting resource issues that you see, bringing them back, providing resource protection measures, but also providing that documentation to the lead read, and if we've talked about it, providing that documentation to home unit specialists that this may impact or that may need this information after the fire. There are biologists and cultural resource specialists that have to consult with regulatory agencies, sometimes during the fires, but mostly after, and they can't be out on the line. Your job is to really paint the picture for them and your agency administrator about what resource issues you're doing out there. So more than when I was a reef, making sure I'm getting meaningful pictures, documenting every day what I'm doing or the resource issues I've created. And I will often tell people, like, go write me a paragraph. I don't want a novel. I want like 3 pictures, the issue and your recommendation. And I can't tell you how many times people write me those and I'm immediately passing them off to other people on the incident management team, on the home unit. So that is one of my core expectations of reefs.
And you just segued into the second question, and Josh and Jordan can take it on. What are your expectations of that documentation from your resource advisors?
I can jump in on this, and the few M280 courses I've been teaching this spring and summer, I always ask everybody, if you had to testify in court 5 years from now on the actions that you took on July 15th of name the year, is your documentation good enough that you could jog your memory of what was going on, what happened that day, who was there, and why the final decisions were made? And if your documentation is not at that level, I don't need a book, but you need to document what was going on and be able to recall it years later, because it may be you having to testify, it may have to be the home unit that you're working for having to justify a decision, or ultimately it may be the exact point where you identified the likely transfer of an invasive species, and now it awards them hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for invasive species work. So documentation is so critical, and it's a really high expectation of mine. And it's really easy when we're on day 14. I'm as guilty as anybody. I would say even day 12, where you're just tired, you're worn out, and you just do a crap job of documenting that day. So I would say try to fight that. And even if you can get a few thoughts down in the evening before you go to bed, that is better than nothing. And I am not too proud to use the AI machine to put some coherent sentences together on my incident notes as well. So that's where I stand on documentation. I'm a firm believer in it, and having seen how it can help home units years later, I'm even more of a firm believer of documentation. And having in my day job being in a role that has to sometimes review some of these actions from incidences year later, it helps so much to have accurate records.
Yeah, can't emphasize that enough. If you never document it, it doesn't exist. That is so true. And unit logs is one of those great ways also to document the day in and day out, besides doing the photos, besides field maps that we've kind of touched on a bit here and getting things sorted out. Is those unit logs are so important. I've got stories where no one's in camp. I'm the only one, and I have to go through unit logs. And based on how people documented in those unit logs, I'm able to put stories together and with facts and say, this is what happened. And it's kept legal issues. It's kept financial issues where we've saved the home unit thousands of dollars because someone wrote it in a unit log. As a reef, when I started, I thought, well, I don't see what the importance, and it wasn't really a big deal. Now on this side of the fence, I realized that's a huge deal. So a running unit log is important, and I had some And I think it can be a great way to communicate to your lead read in another way there, because I do read unit logs. I will go through and scan them, and I have laughed pretty hard personally on some of them, because I think some people didn't think I was reading them, and they put in what music they were bopping down the road to, and they actually were put lyrics in there, and I'm like, I read these, and they laughed in the middle of a read meeting. It's like, I'm legit, I read that, this is stuff. So that, just documenting those unit logs. I know it's at the end of the day, but it's super important. Usually there's plenty of time in the evening as a reef, I found, with people and folks, that get those unit logs in, get those photo documentations done. Make sure your data is great as a recap of what everyone said. And it will stand the test of time if you document it right the first time.
And one last thing, if you're ever the last REAC or like the last reef on the home unit when this incident winds down, you're going to be really grateful if you have good data, good information to sift through to paint the final read report picture of what happened or did not happen on the incident.
So what the only thing I would add that we haven't talked about is field maps has become standard for NWCG, and so working with your lead read on what the expectations are for your documentation in field maps. And the other field documentation that I care about is flagging. If you have a resource issue or like a critical need that has to be done, and this is especially important in transition, but it can also just be important in your daily work as a reef, that we've agreed to a flagging standard. You flagged that resource issue in a way that is identifiable to other reefs, because you might get moved around. You may not be on the same division tomorrow that you were today, and identifiable to the team. And that if this is really a critical issue, you've jotted notes on the flagging. So that's helped me so many times when I've got out into the field and I'm looking for something that someone told me about, and suddenly there's flagging there, and it was like, reef quarter, invasive species, and a date, and that can be really helpful. So that is another core part of documentation, or helping to pass resource information to other reefs and other members of the operations team.
I'm just going to add one more thing, especially from an archaeology background, is that you may be the last resource advisor to see something. So to document it before it's damaged, after it's damaged, while it's being damaged, if you can, is great. And to do that in a professional manner, knowing that a lot of this will go into consultation for SHPO, for ACHP, for all the natural resource people, and that the local unit might be having to write a very professional report to do that consultation. So the more professional that your documentation is to help those specialists on the local unit, the better off you are. All right. Next question. What are your expectations for safety for your resource advisors? Go ahead, CJ.
Oh, first and foremost, situational awareness. The more you can spend time learning operationally what is happening on a fire, taking assignments as an operator, working on prescribed burns on your home unit, the greater your situational awareness is going to be out on the line. So first and foremost, that radio is your lifeline, you're listening to it. I will see reefs get so engaged in the resource work that they've kind of like heads down and not heads up to listening to what's going on. A lot of times when situations are changing on a fire, you're not going to see that on the ground, you are going to hear that on the radio first. So for me, that situational awareness is important. And then like a core one for me is also you as a reef need to attend your morning breakout with whatever division you're assigned out every morning, or have connected with them if you are not going to be meeting them in the morning. Fires are dynamic, they change from night to day. What you might have heard in the brief that goes to the entire team may be slightly different or changed for your division. Plus that division is your line accountability. Like I am your supervisor, but you often will have an operational or line supervisor, a division on the line. So checking in with them is critically important to me. And the other one is any scouting requires pre-approval. This is something that's pretty common in the operational side too. Scouting is an extremely dangerous operation. You are out away from the fire line with green material between you and the fire, and maybe not able to see the fire, which is one of the watch out situations. So, you know, operators take very seriously scouting missions, and I truly believe that reefs should as well. And I can't tell you how many times people come back at the end of the day and told me they were 5 miles from where they said they were going to be. And that is something that, like, I would like an operational plan in advance, because we might need to check that through ops if we are going into if you're taking a mission that's away from the fire line and all the support that's provided on a fire line. But I'll turn it to Josh and Jordan if they've got some other recommendations.
Yeah. One thing for safety I like is I tell my reefs to voice it. You see something like in the read meeting, come back, share a near miss or a safety concern. And if you mitigated it, share it, because a lot of people may have those same experiences and they may not say anything. But again, they hear you say it at the read meeting or whatnot, and they go, oh, okay, that's good to know. And remember, we have a lot of new reefs and to well-experienced reefs. So what may be something for an experienced reef going, oh yeah, this happens, this is how we mitigate it, this happens all the time per se. It's good for that person to share it, because you have new members being new trainees, new people, not maybe their first season, and they just don't know. And they're like, oh, I need to be aware of this. This is good to know. And I know how to mitigate it. I would say that's very important. If you're out with your divisions or groups and you see something, you know, speak up in a respectful and polite manner. We don't want it to come across obviously condescending, because that puts the person on the defense, especially if it's in a group setting. Depending on how the relationship is and you call something out, they may take it personally like you're calling them out. So there is that balance, just to keep that in mind. Just but I do encourage that with folks on the line, is to be respectful, to be courteous, but to speak up and let me know what you are seeing as a reef on the ground, whether it's in the read meeting or personally one-on-one, because I want to know about them too, so I can help address that. Because there's things that go on back in camp in the tent world with all those meetings that come up, and if I know what's going on, it equips me as a lead read in the middle of that to look like I'm organized, I know what's going on, and I'm very proactive that way. So it supports your leader.
I don't have a ton to add to everything CJ and Josh shared. The only other point that I've started incorporating is I will either work with safety on the big incidences, or I will run on the smaller fires or a smaller incident, the cadre through it, how to operate in an IWI to get our IRPG out. So my last 3 assignments now, one including even the Freedom 250 event at Mount Rushmore, one of my reads was the first on scene of a motorcycle accident. So, and they ran it, and they ran it well. They got resources and a helicopter en route. So having that knowledge, because a lot of us don't do this day in and day out, but a lot of us are single resources and we're all over a fire. So we may be the first responder to an incident within an incident. So just a thought that I've started incorporating if the operational tempo allows, because it showed up on my last 3 assignments now. So, but ditto to what Josh and CJ shared.
Also, no resources with your life or your mental health.
100%.
That's my number one under my safety thing. And I added in the last couple of years your mental health, because I think it's like the one that we don't talk about quite as much. It's extremely traumatic to watch resources you've cared about maybe your whole career go up in flames or have a bulldozer go through them. And I would not underestimate the toll that takes on you. And let's talk. If this, I will tell my reefs, if this is not the assignment for you, you don't have to. We want you here, but you matter more to me than this assignment. You know, like that's come to play for me more in the last couple of years. To go, the stress and strain of this work is real. It's hard, and taking care of your life and your mental health is number one.
And one more point on that, if you find yourself in a REAC role, really pay attention to some of the home unit folks. They may be doing great, and they all of a sudden crash, and you find out like, hey, they lost everything. They lost their house. They have nowhere to go, so they're just working full throttle. So really pay attention to the home unit folks if they're experiencing that sort of mental stress and duress. And if they need to maybe move divisions or be demobbed or have a day in camp, really pay attention to that. Good point, CJ, to bring up. But again, the home unit folks are worth paying attention to, because all of us have it in our hearts to serve and to serve these lands we love and work on, and we'll do it to the point of exhaustion or mental exhaustion, and we don't want people to get there, especially on seasons like this one.
And that there's no one size fits all solution for addressing grief and mental health. For some people, they may lose their house and want to work through that, as long as they are functioning efficiently and healthy. I want to keep them in that role. For some people, it may be too much. It also could be, you were like, on the last fire, I could do all of this. I was dealing with their stress. I'm fine. It's never the same river twice. Like holding yourself to a standard of a last fire when suddenly you've lost your home. So I think that has changed a lot for me. I used to think I have the answer for every person dealing with mental health stress. And I've stepped back a lot and go, how can I support you where you are right now? And that might be different from, it comes to the platinum role. It might be different from what I need or from what their neighbor needs.
All right, next question. What are your expectations for the resource advisors on the fire line to be communicating with you as the REAC, and especially on a daily basis? What are you expecting from them?
I can jump in. I love communication. Keep open lines of communication with me. If there's good stuff happening, let me know that so we can give credit where credit's due. If there's bad stuff happening, of course, I'm going to encourage folks to handle it at their level if they can. If that is not possible, then elevate it. We have other tools to handle it. Don't make an incident bigger than it needs to be. But how we handle all those circumstances, good or bad, is through communication. I want to know what's happening. I want to know the good interactions, the bad, if there's any close calls, watch outs, anything like that, resource concerns, or somebody that's blowing off resources. And that just starts with an open dialogue. And then also that read meeting in the evening is so critical to me. That's where I'm really hearing what's going on in the field, and folks can stress some of the concerns, especially as it was previously stated, people move around on fires in different divisions day to day. So it gives the entire cohort on the fire a good essay of what's going on in the other divisions.
Yeah, so for me, again, you'll probably hear this from all of us. Communicate. Tell us what's going on. Mostly, I would say I hear most of it at the read meetings, and then my pushback on those read meetings is the sense that give me your highlights for the day, right? Let me know the significant issues. I don't need a minute by minute playbook. I would go as a reef. You should go into those meetings, and if you're going to talk, okay, can I say what I need to say, the highlights, in 2 minutes or less? Just be concise, because when we get on these big incidents that are complex, usually it's like, here's an example, read meetings at 1900. I have a meeting with ops at 1730 or 18 or 2000. I need, as a REAC, I need to know the highlights, and maybe some specific things, concerns, and then I need to I like to visit with everyone afterwards, sign CTRs, see each other one-on-one, get and check in on you guys on an individual basis. But then it's like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta walk across camp now to the next meeting. And having read meetings, which there's a part of that the REAC needs to, right, is the facilitator, so needs to oversee that. Go on for an hour and a half or something is, to me, generally excessive. And so a lot of that is being on this side of the fence. I used to do that as a reef too. Totally sit there and tell them, well, I went here, I did this, I did that. And the REAC doesn't need to necessarily hear that. Now that I'm on this side, I'm like, oh, I need to know this, this, and this. Let's be concise. Try to keep it 2 to 3 minutes tops and move on. The rest can go in a unit log for the lead read to read later.
One of the things I think about with communication is when I'm working with operational resources, to think about the concept of the authority of the resource and thinking about the why of the resource protection measures that you're asking. So so same thing when you're communicating with the lead read. Tell me why you're asking for this thing as concisely as possible. I think there's some great fire leadership classes that work a lot on briefing. Improving your briefing skills so that you can be very concise in what your ask is, what your outcome, your desired outcome is really helpful. I think we have in our day jobs a lot more free-flowing conversation. Fire conversation is very direct, and it can be a big shock to reefs when they come into an incident structure, how directly people communicate with each other. Know that it's not personal. It is about sort of the being in a sometimes urgent situation. I think the other thing around communication is be open to getting feedback with grace and giving it with compassion, and know that like maybe more so, I didn't really start to get such direct feedback until I started working in fire on my communication style or my interpersonal skills. I would say be prepared for that. And the reason that we're doing it is, you know, we have increased stakes maybe than our day job. And so agencies that manage high levels of risk often have important feedback loops to protect safety. So if we're having direct communication, if I have a lead read is come to you and said, I directly need to communicate you about that, it's usually associated with a safety concern that I have, or something that is, you know, if we're not talking to each other, that can become a safety concern out on the line also. So I think being prepared for that and knowing that that direct feedback is something that's likely to happen, and that we are trying to do it for the betterment of the team and the safety of everybody.
All right. I'll add one thing too. It's just think like a division, and they're always talking to ops. And so as a reef, always be talking to your lead read. What are your needs for the next day? You can call them, on the radio, call them, text them, say, this is what I need for tomorrow. This is what's going on. And do that in the middle of the day, just to cover your bases. And they know what's going on. And then, what are your expectations when a resource advisor is having problems with operations? Maybe that resource advisor believes that there's a better way to protect resources, or they're just having problems working with that operations. What's your expectations, and how do you expect them to deal with those things?
Well, I'll go ahead and start this one off. My thing is kind of what I hinted at earlier, right? Always be polite and respectful. I know sometimes it might be hard, especially if you're very passionate and you're like, this will work. You're so 100% confident that it's going to work, and it has to work a certain way. And that can drive and come across as can present itself in various forms if you don't keep it in check. So first, polite and be respectful and what to do. And maybe try to work a compromise. Hopefully, if you've been working with this division a long time, or this group out there on the line, hopefully you've developed some rapport. But assuming it's like day one and you come in, you're like, oh, I have to do this. And they're like, whoa, this is not what's been happening before you showed up, right? You get that. Still advised, and I would expect you to try maybe to find a compromise. And if there's this wall and they're resistant, it's like, okay, well, note it down, jot it down, what's going on, document it, and then let me know as a REAC. Sometimes, every once in a while, sometimes it could just be someone, and thankfully it's not as common as it used to be. People we're all working a lot better together, but sometimes you find someone who's like just anti-read and they don't care. Well, then we need to take it to that level, which is me, I can take it higher and we can work it down if necessary. Doesn't happen, it's for me, rarely happens, but I have had to do that and we can get things resolved. But again, just be respectful. If you feel your blood boiling, you're going to yell at them. Okay, you need to back off. That's not going to get anyone anywhere. So those are some tips on what I would expect.
Sometimes I'll ask reefs, when did you talk to your division about that? And and they'll be like 9 a.m. when the division was lining everybody out. And I will be like, well, you know, put yourself in their shoes. You're getting out first thing in the morning. Like, pick your moment to have your resource message decision, and also that, like, strive for persistence, not perfection. If it's not sinking in this moment, circle back to it. You know, there's persistence is okay, and really understand. You know, shadow a division for the day, see everything that they do in a given day and all of the things that they're thinking about, and figure out how you can fit best into that schedule and get your resource needs met. Work with them on creative solutions. Don't create a solution outside of the operational system. You know, it is the job of operations to protect resources, but I would say the more you can understand the language of fire, the rhythm of the day, what's going to happen the next day. I think that's the other thing about picking your moment. If you're dealing with a resource issue where, like, a plan has already been made, that can be really hard. You want to be dealing with you know, the next day's plan. Hey, I think we're thinking about building line here tomorrow. Here's the resource issues that I've seen that we're going to be encountering then. So being proactive and understanding the operational tempo and plan, I think, can be really helpful for solving some of those conflicts.
I think that bodes well for the 24, 48, and 72-hour plan. It has you thinking ahead on the operational tempo, and you can start getting ahead of the problem, so you're not trying to chase a problem when stress levels are high with some of these division soups or task force leaders, etc. So try to understand what's coming and get ahead of these issues. I think also, for me, this is where prioritization comes in. Be sure the problem you're having is truly a priority that's worth having a problem over. If it's not, then move on, say have a nice day, and go work on the next priority. So that's another take home. I've had to referee a lot of these type of issues with newer reefs and arcs, and then I remind them, like, this really isn't a home unit priority, so we don't need to make it one either. We don't need to make this bigger than it already is. So just be sure you know what the problem is, you know what the root is, you're working from the authority of the resource, and you're working from a place of understanding the home unit, the AA's priority. And
I do tell people you have to be prepared to have your heart broken.
Yes, that too.
Regularly, but that you will have resilience to that, and that, you know, I've heard one of the things Linn will say is, if you're out there and you protect one resource or solve one issue, then the fire is better for having you there. So so if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority, and also it's not personal, right? It's just not. And when you care about these resources so much, as many of us are, I would say most of us are here not because this is a profession, it's an avocation for us. It's really hard to sometimes separate that personal part. And I think one of the things I learned more recently is, like, firefighters feel the same way. This is an avocation for them as well. Pride in their job, doing things well, thoroughly, quickly is important to them as well. And so we're touching on, like, heart issues with people when we get into these conflicts, and understanding that, like, the person you might be having a conflict with probably believes very strongly in what they're doing too. And so taking a moment to put yourself in their shoes can go a long way.
Josh, did you answer this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna this is one, if you're having this in the middle of the day, call your lead read, call your REAC, and ask them these questions. Ask them the priority, and say you're having these problems. And sometimes I've done it as a lead read. Just hear that, I go right to ops and ask the question, and the ops might be like, "Oh, I didn't know my people are doing that. Let me take care of that." And then you hear back, and you've solved the issue. Maybe the division didn't know the priorities, but you let ops deal with that, and don't get in a fight with them. Just talk to your lead, let them work through those people above them and those people in camp that can make those bigger decisions.
And I have one go back replying to Josh's
Yeah.
statement there, and make sure you inform your REAC first, bump it up the chain of command. One other thing I want to share for some of the newer folks that almost got us in big trouble on a fire last summer is where the home unit was directing their employees to do side projects and work etc. While the reefs and arcs were actually working for me as the lead read. And you say, oh, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, except the home unit supervisor about walked their people into a firing operation. And so then it became a real big safety concern. And if there is issues with the home unit where they're kind of quietly controlling their people and they're not aware of the operational picture and tempo, then you need to really work with your AA quickly to nip that in the butt. To be totally transparent and honest with you, don't skip the chain of command. It happens frequently, and it comes from people trying to do good, but it can create massive safety issues if you're assigned to the incident. Your new supervisor is whoever is in your supervisory chain above you on the incident, not your home unit supervisor anymore. That's all. Soapbox, stepping down.
It's a good point. All right. As REAC, how do you get resource advisors on the fire? Yeah, what are you doing to get them on?
I've
I'll
gone
take that
to
one.
a
Go
50,
for it, Courtney.
I've gone to like a 50-50 approach these days of like 50% blind ordering, 50% reaching out if I have a specific targeted resource issue that I need someone for, and I might need this particular person on a home unit. And then it depends on the unit or the size of the fire that you are on at a given time, the formality of the ordering of the resource ordering process. With a large team, you're going to be working with ordering to get those people ordered. If it's an emerging event, you might be working with the local IC or your local AA on getting that ordering done. Some AAs want to work with the team and tell them who or who on the team has ordering power. I've definitely had an AA say, I will work with the team to order reefs. You won't. So that's a discussion I would have with the AA as I come in as a resource advisor. So I would say it depends. The biggest part is that this is a coordinated effort with at a local level with the IC and dispatch or with the incident management team when you're ordering resources. And then there's a specific, everything on a fire has a form. You put this request on a 213, you get it to the ordering team and get that resource ordered. But usually you as a reef will not be doing that independently of the lead read or the agency administrator / IC on a small fire.
Yeah, so I do probably 40, 60, 50, 50, just kind of like CJ was talking about. There are people, I will say, as I come into a fire, I'm always, and they're like, yeah, we want to bring you in. You're replacing this lead read. I'll talk with the lead read and figure out, get the lay of the land through that individual. What kind of people you have? What are the issues? And then I do have people that I will name request because I see, okay, we have these many people timing out and we're losing these specialties. Okay, I want these people I know I work well with to build the foundation of the house, if you will. So I'm going to call in certain people I know that work well with. They work well with me. We work well together. I know I can send them out and they will do things because we've done things before. And there's that trust and experience there, just like the incident management teams. They work together. They know the ins and outs of each other to help them be an efficient team. I do the same thing and set it up that way. Then afterwards, then it's like, okay, I got my base in that I want or am striving towards. And then I'll just do an open order, depending on how the complexity of the incident is. Like usually I'm in some pretty complex ones where I'll blanket order, give me 10 arcs and 20 reefs, and let's just keep that open order going. And that's part of my job and getting people in and working with wherever they're at and their experience and plugging them in. I do like trainees as well. That doesn't bother me. That usually can be a question. It's like, oh, well, do you name request trainees? Yes. If someone's coming in, they'll call me going, can I bring a trainee? I've already had communication with the AA to make sure that's approved, that they are fine with that too as a REAC. So that's how I'll build it, and which then can maybe lead to the question, well, how do I get on this list if REACs have this list? And I would just say it's just show good work ethic, exemplify what it is to be a resource advisor out there. You're just in it, you're on it, you're doing well, and you'll just naturally develop those relationships with REACs, with teams, as you stand out and you're doing a great job and working well as a team on the operations side. And that's how I've called people and whatnot, and created a list of people.
Say there's a reason mine's real similar to Josh's and CJ's as well, but I would say the other point that I like to make is that if I instructed somebody in M280 or a REAC course, I sometimes prioritize them as a trainee on my cadre on a fire because I know them. We've had that rapport. They've shown that they're very interested. I always tell people to stay persistent. I get a lot of emails every day, just like everybody. And the ones that are persistent and say, hey, checking in again. We did M280 in Grand Junction or Fairbanks. Like, I'm going to grab those people and bring them in. But also similarly, I use the on the big fires where we have the ability and the AA is amenable to it. I'll use the READ cohort Excel sheet of people saying, hey, I'm a trainee, I'm available. I'll try to grab people off there. But I do let the operational tempo dictate how many trainees I bring in. If this fire is just really ripping, it's critical, it's dangerous environment, I need to have that person with a very experienced trainer. So I try to make that happen whenever I can, but it doesn't always happen. And similarly, I like to have a few go-to people that I know can get things done when we're in the heat of the moment. And I certainly leave a few spots open to just the network of people that are in the cadre on that fire with me of like, hey, do you guys know a good timber reef? And I'll call that person that is recommended by somebody in the cadre. So I like to have a few known entities. I love having trainees. I don't really roll anymore without a trainee, whether that's a REAC trainee or reef trainees or ARC trainees. So I pretty much mandate that when a fire calls me if I can come or not. So
also that sometimes I'm looking for a very particular skill set, so don't take it personally. And that I might, sometimes I need this person that knows how to fix this trail. And so one of the things of that is go to the home unit, go to either the resource specialist in the home unit or the AA and say, I have this particular issue. Who would you recommend on the forest for it? If you need to get the right person out there to do the right job, sometimes I have in the past, like, push the round peg through the square hole in personnel. Oh, I have this person, they're on my team. We're going to make them go fix this issue. Now, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to at least try to get them connected with a local resource specialist to make sure they have all of the information that they need. But sometimes I'm looking for a very specialized skill set. And the way that you can do that is reach out to their contacts in the reef world or work with the local home unit. I've sometimes been like, I need that trail coordinator from that district, and let's get him out there to solve this problem.
And just a quick go back on persistency. At least for me, I say, if you know me, you can add me to your team's chat and you can like fire stalk me, I guess is the term for it, if you will. And I tell people, just check in with me. Just like Jordan's saying, they email, be proactive. If you really want on a specific fire, go in fire duty, the app, or watch duty, or whatever that you know about that fire. Contact the lead read, because sometimes in the middle of things, there's so much going on as a REAC. And if I get the message going, hey, remember me? We talked about being a trainee. I'll be like, or a trainee for a REAC, a trainee for a reef. Is there room? Can I come on? And usually in that moment, I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, we can make that happen. Or, hey, let me put you, and I usually keep a list too, a nice roster list on the fire going, okay, I'll get back to you. I would like you to come in to check a few things, and I'll write your name, get your information, and then it's there present. So when I'm going back to that list in the evening or later on, I can be like, oh, yes, I need some trainees. This person was available. Perfect. And I can reach out. So couldn't emphasize enough what Jordan said. Be persistent in getting there.
I'll add to look at the chat. Pete just posted where the links for the trainee spreadsheet and for the fires looking for resource advisors are, and how to get on those lists. So look in the chat for that. Also look in the email, the cohort email that came out. Also, Josh, can you talk about the SharePoint, the Forest Service spreadsheet?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So The Forest Service, it started off as a national bearer roster to where people could put their name and their availability in, and now they have the read side of things. So you can, unfortunately, that thing, I was told if you get a Link Pass profile or an AgLearn profile, you can get in if you're not Forest Service. I don't know if that's 100% accurate though. So if someone that's not Forest has gotten into it, that's great. Otherwise, if you are Forest Service, you just log in with your Link Pass and you can set your own availability. But the cool thing is, like, you can search by specialty. So let's say you're like, man, I really need a roads engineer reef to do these roads. We really need one. You can look in there for engineering and it'll list and sort it and it'll show you everyone who's available. The caveat is they may make themselves available and forget to make them unavailable, but at least you have a contact, a place to email, a place to start. So that one is there. There's also SharePoint, some sites that can be accessed Forest Service or non-Forest Service, and that I have used to quickly get a roster of people within several regions. And I know there's region 4, region, I think 2, 1, and I think maybe 5 may have one. I have to look. Okay, not 5. It must be, maybe it's 6. Anyway, there's some that do, some that don't. I have them in a zip file and I have them bookmarked so I can quickly go to them and pull them up as long as they're still available, because we are not having regions anymore, right? We're consolidating to states, and that's a whole nother topic for another time. But just a heads up on that, those SharePoint sites can be accessed.
All right. Last question. If somebody's interested in becoming a REAC, what do you think are the most valuable things they can do in order to become one?
I'll
Come out
start.
and be a deputy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Jordan.
go ahead, Courtney. No, go.
Come out and be a deputy, dip your toe in the water. You know, the deputy lead read is not an official position, but I try not to roll without one unless I'm on a small fire at home. These days, come out and ask to be a trainee or shadow for a day. Like if you're at the end of an incident, I've had people be like, can I shadow you the last day of my incident? Absolutely. So you can get a sense of what it's like if you're not quite sure. Get it on your red card as a trainee. I, last year, for the first time, blind ordered a REAC, and he was fabulous. So, and if I'm willing to accept it as a trainee, like the ordering will call me and say, we have this person as a trainee. I call them, we have a conversation. They can come on as a trainee. So get it on your red card as a REAC, and more as we have these positions standardized through NWCG, I think they will go through more blind ordering to get people. So do all of those steps to make yourself available. That's also how I'm trying to step out of my little circle of people, right? So, you know, people say this is a relationship-based sort of position still, but more and more it should be a standardized position where it is ordered without, you know, necessarily knowing all those having to know people to get into a position, which is why I've moved more towards some blind ordering. The other thing blind ordering does is it goes through the standard ordering process, right? Where they look for people in the GAC, and then they go out of the GAC, and then they go further. So when you're looking for like a local resource specialty, if you're blind ordering people, you're more likely to get people from this particular area than if you are just name requesting and reaching out. So I would say those are the big ones. Come on as a trainee, come on as a deputy, shadow for a day, and get REAC on your red card.
And I would say yes. And also for me, I like to use the adage, stay humble, hungry, and smart. Like, check your pride at the door. You will be humbled on a fire in a REAC role, and just be open to learning what's happening. Don't let your pride get the best of you and your emotions take over. Like, stay smart, stay open to learning new things, and be willing to create new relationships within the IMT, within the AA cadre, especially on a interjurisdictional fire. So just be open to learning, and know that you're not going to know everything, and that's okay. Just know, like, there's a huge body of information out there. There's a huge network of people out there to tap into if you need it. And just like Courtney said, get out there and do it. If you're on a reef assignment similarly and somebody says, hey, can I shadow you for a day or two? I'm like, 100%, let's do it. It'll be fun. And I'm going to roll you into the fold pretty quick too, especially on the big fires when it's real busy. So if you're out there, don't be afraid to ask your lead read if they'll let you in.
Yep. And I would say on top, to add to what they've already covered really well, is to just try it. Take it. You're like, well, I don't know if I really want to. I really want to be a reef longer. That's fine. That's great. Still do a REAC trainee assignment. Like Jordan and them said, go ask, hey, I just kind of want to know what this is like. Can I do it with you for half the assignment, the whole assignment when you show up as a reef? I encourage that, and I've taken people in that way. And I've had some who've dabbled into it, and they sit there and they go, I had no idea what you dealt with all day long. I just thought you sat in camp all day. Wow, this is eye-opening. I don't want to be a REAC. I said, then I would say, but now you know what I need as a REAC. You know what I deal with. Therefore, when you're on the line, you know how to more effectively and efficiently and briefly consolidate all your data and only communicate what's essential, because you now know what I have to deal with and what happens behind the scenes that you don't get to see. So I would even encourage you to be a better reef. Take a REAC trainee assignment just to better equip you, and that'll help you stand out and understand the full picture. Why is the REAC making that decision? Why are they doing that? I don't get it. And I've seen, reefs get frustrated. You come in, they all get quiet. I'm like, oh, okay, we were talking about something that was related to me and maybe a decision I made. And I'm open. Like, if you want to know, tell me, ask. Why did you make that decision, Josh? I don't understand. And I encourage to ask questions, find that appropriate time and to ask the question of your REAC too. But anyway, yeah, I think it'll make you a better reef, if anything. If not, maybe it'll, as they say, it'll tickle your fancy and you'll be like, ooh, I kind of like this REAC thing. This is interesting. So give it a shot for either one.
And if you're primary fire and you find yourself on a crew or an engine a lot, it'll give you a really good glimpse into like being in an IMT and in the meetings all day and privy to the discussion. So I would say it'll make you a better arc reef, but if you're primary fire, it'll also make you a better firefighter too.
All right. Yeah, Courtney just put in the leadership classes, and that's what I was going to add to this. Like any kind of leadership. If you can take the fire leadership, that's extra great. But any kind of leadership training you can take, taking a 360 thing so you know about yourself, that is going to help you learn about leadership and learn how to be a lead read. As Courtney said, every day on a fire is going to test you and make you learn about yourself. All right, we got 3 minutes left in the official 1 hour of this. There are a couple of comments or questions in the chat, but we can also, depending on the panel's availability, if you guys are available to stay on for just a few extra minutes to answer some questions, that would be great. One question that was quite bouncing around, and Courtney, CJ, you covered it a little bit, but the name requesting and whether you can or can't, and maybe somebody could address that a little bit.
I always find this a funny topic because sometimes I'll hear like, we don't name request in fire. And I'm like, well, yeah, you do all the time. I would say it's incident to incident, region to region, GAC to GAC, a PL level to PL level, depending on what we're looking at. What you can do is work through a process of having a specific skill that is required of the reef that you're ordering, right? And telling dispatch, of someone here that has that skill and can meet it and is available. That is a way to blind order and still name request. So I don't know. I don't have any policy direction to share on that. So if Josh or Jordan or anyone else in the group has policy direction, I have still seen it just be all over the board.
To your point, I think it depends on the PL level, the GAC, the operating picture that we're up against right now. So, and work with what you got. There's creative solutions to get what you need.
And usually you have to show that it's been UTF'd, that an open order has been unable to fill. And if you can't fill it, then it's sort of open for name requests, except when you're like at PL, what is it, 5? When you're at the very lowest, I've definitely seen that kicked back, even if you have a UTF. What other questions do we have here? Do assignments have to be 14 days?
I would say it's preferred. I want the commitment, because usually by the time you get going, you're establishing those relationships. Those 14 days are crucial for that. If I'm talking bigger assignments, the small assignments locally, right? They can be 3 days, they can be 7 days, 9, 1 day. That just varies. But I prefer 14 because I have to plan things out, and that's what I do in my tracking spreadsheet. I'm trying to fulfill and bring people in for those full 14. Now, if it doesn't work out, that's a discussion you have with the REAC before they bring you on, or if dispatch is calling you and saying, hey, we got this role, and you say, I can only do it for 10 days. Do you have a contact there that I can reach back to and see if before I accept this assignment? I would do that with your dispatch, so that way you get a direct line back to the lead read who's ordering you, and see if that works. Because sometimes it does. And I've had it definitely. I was like, hey, I'll take you for 7 days. I need someone. I'll do it. Let's go for it. And we'll go for it. But preferred is 14, just for strictly planning purposes, and the duration and the relationship building that happens within those 14 days is pretty important.
Right. Do you
Connor's
need,
got a hand up.
is there a hand up?
Yeah,
We'll
Connor.
get the hand up first.
Yeah, appreciate all the insights. It's been a good meeting so far. Question relating to the new wildland fire service. I don't know if y'all have been on any incidents on BLM land or any DOI land this year, and how the AA has switched from the legacy bureaus now to the new wildland fire service, and how that process has worked as far as reads go.
Say the one incident I was a part of, it was flawless. We were all at the same table together. The fire service AA and the bureau rep was there, and I was also at the table with them, and everybody was on the same page. I can quickly see though where they might not be, and it might be a little work to get what you need out of one or the other, or work on bringing those two together to see what you're trying to ask or meet the need that you have. So that's all I got on that so far, Connor.
I have a great AA that likes to do a who's who in the zoo. Who's responsible for what on the AA team? And it's totally appropriate if you're working in the lead read role to say, hey, can you help me understand who's who in the zoo and who's responsible for what? It's okay to be like, I'm unclear on who's making this, who has authority for this decision. Can you help me understand it? That is a great way, I would say, to approach what are likely to be some of these considerations in this year.
We have a question. Where are the classes that help you work on an effective briefing?
Oh, I think I had put in L280 and L380 helped me with that quite a bit. And then going out and taking some operational assignments on the engine and being asked to brief on the fire situation helped with that. Also, on a leadership level, I took Forest Service congressional briefing, and at the recommendation of my forest supervisor, to learn how to like concisely get down to briefing on complex, potentially politically volatile issues. So if you're moving into a lead read role, there, I don't know if DOI has similar things, but the Forest Service has like how to brief up training.
And if you're on an assignment, talk with your REAC of like, can I practice briefing with, the evening lead reading, or, just there is a plenty of opportunities to practice your briefing skills if you just communicate the need and the interest on an incident.
Also, at any public speaking course that's out there, it doesn't have to be fire. The more you're good at public speaking and speaking to other people in big groups, the better you'll be in a big fire briefing. There's a couple. The fire, Wildland Fire Learning Portal has some stuff on briefings, and there's M410 Facilitative Instructor. Those are in the chat. All right. I got all these. There was the one question: do you have to be a REAC trainee to go on a fire as a REAC trainee? And I would say yes, if you want it to be official and you want to start working towards that position officially. But if you just want to put your toes into it, I think all these, the whole panel has said that they would allow you to shadow or help a little bit if you're interested in it. But then you won't get official credit for it. So.
But if you come on the incident as a reef and then you start doing lead read work, we can work with the training officer to credit that experience towards that.
Yeah, and any kind of trainee, including REAC trainees, can be on the training form on the cohort if they want. You want to elaborate on whether someone is grandfathered in when it comes to a task book? Let's say first, there's no task book for REAC yet. There's only a task book for Reef for trainees, and as far as being grandfathered in, I'd have to look at the whole grandfathering in page document that's on the NWCG subcommittee's website. I can't remember off the top of my head what it says for reefs. As far as being grandfathered in, if you want to be a lead reader or REAC, that is you have to show that you've done it before or that your AA thinks that you can do it. And then you can get it on your red card because there is no training. All right. I think this will be our last question. Pete wants to know what are the largest or smallest number of folks you have led as a REAC?
Oh, we're in a measuring competition. Just kidding.
I'll start off then. The smallest where there actually what needed a lead read position was 3. Besides if you wanted it unofficially, just myself. I was the lead read, the line read, everything, right? So down to 1, but officially it was 3, including myself. And the largest I did, I was like either 30 or 35 people I had under me as a REAC.
I think similarly, small IA type of stuff, it was me by myself. And then when that lightning bus came through, I brought in a couple more folks. So it was me plus 3. And then I got to give a little credit to Matt too from Dragon Bravo last year. But I think we had 31 at the peak, 31 or 37. I don't remember what it was.
I've had me plus 1 earlier this year. And I've had me plus 45.
Which fire was that?
When you get that big, the mosquito at some point. When you get that big though, and that was because there were 2 parts of the fire and there were like deputies and stuff. When you get that big as a lead read, what I'll say is like at that point you're not on paper you're directly supervising that number of people, but this is where the deputies come in, and where, like your span of control is my span of control feels out of control after about 7, 7 or 8. Although my friend says like you have 5 fingers for a reason. That's the end of your span of control. But after I have about 7 or 8 people, I definitely employ someone else for accountability for people.
All right. Thank you, all 3 of you. Greatly appreciate it. Everybody give these all hand applause. Thanks in the chat. And I think that's all I got. All we got for today. I want to respect people's time. So
Courtney,
Have a
do you
fun and
got
safe
2
assignment
seconds?
out there, everyone.